Hello and welcome to our daily news program coming to you here on Canal Algérie. Let's start off with the major headlines. The BRICS leaders are unanimously in favor of the grouping's extension to include new members, yet the adhesion conditions need to be further discussed. The Brazilian Labor Union unwaveringly backs the Sahrawi struggle for independence and urges the United Nations to hold a self-determination referendum. And we will experience a mountain adventure in Georgia Heights for a fresh air amid an enchanting landscape. Welcome again. Those were the headlines. First of all, Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman held a meeting with his Sahrawi counterpart Bisharaya Hamoudi Biouni at the government palace. During this meeting, the two sides expressed their relief regarding the brotherly relations binding the two countries, while highlighting their willingness to carry on these bilateral cooperation relations and further develop them in several sectors. Later on, both premiers reviewed the latest developments relating to the Sahrawi cause, reaffirming on the occasion Algeria's unwavering position in support of the Sahrawi cause to recover its right for self-determination. Following the audience, the Sahrawi Prime Minister had this to say to our reporter.
It was a constructive, brotherly and positive meeting. It revolved around the needs of the Sahrawi people to carry on their struggle in terms of food, electricity and security. We reiterated Algiers' staunch position backing the struggle of the Sahrawi people.
In other news, and tasked by the President of the Republic, the Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad Minister Ahmed Attaf started his African tour in the Nigerian capital Abuja, where he met with his Nigerian counterpart Yusuf Maitama Tujar. The consultations tackled the crisis in Niger and the means to find a political settlement that will restore order and legality in the country. The two sides also exchanged information on the diplomatic efforts being made to end the conflict in Niger, while hailing the joint initiative taken by the two countries' presidents regarding this file. The two sides agreed as well to carry on coordination to restore order and legality in this African country. To the BRICS Business Forum being held in South Africa, where the grouping's leaders are in favor of the new members. Yet the admission conditions need to be further discussed to be in line with the technical requirements set for this purpose. Najah Tayyar has the full story.
The BRICS leaders meeting at the summit in Johannesburg and unanimously wishing to extend their influence. They were all open to an enlargement of the grouping. But the choice of the new members and the admission conditions still need to be discussed. The South African President Cyril Ramaphosa welcomed that all the members fully support the proposal. At this stage, no details have been disclosed as to whether new members will join before the end of the summit or the issue is limited to laying the foundations for the expansion. In any case, Pretoria is due to present a list of guidelines and criteria for the new nations seeking to adhere the grouping. 40 countries all over the globe have applied for membership and expressed their desire for joining the BRICS, which produces the quarter of the world's wealth and represents more than 40% of the world's population. As the economic heavyweight of the BRICS, China clearly reiterated its position in favor of enlargement at the summit. The President Xi Jinping stressed that the BRICS must work in favor of multilateralism and not create small entities, and that the family of the BRICS needed to be enlarged. The grouping's other economic leader, India, which did not express any views on a possible expansion at the opening of the summit, finally declared its support to open up, subject to an agreement on the terms and conditions set for this purpose. During this 15th summit, the BRICS reaffirmed their non-aligned position and their demand for a multipolar world. The Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who pleaded for the integration of Argentina, which is having difficulty repaying debt of $44 billion to the International Monetary Fund, promised to reduce the vulnerabilities of the countries of the South, thanks to the financial system of the group, namely the new development bank, the NDB, created in 2015, with the ambition of offering an alternative of the World Bank and the IMF. Russia, for its part, has announced that it will organize the BRICS summit next year.
During a meeting with the representatives of the Algerian community settled in South Africa, Aziz Faid, the finance minister, and in his capacity as a representative of the President of the Republic, affirmed that Algeria is experiencing a new economic dynamic and called on our community members to be part of this new era. Faid also conveyed the greetings of the President of the Republic to our nationals in South Africa and recalled on the occasion the statements made by the President of the Republic affirming that the doors are widely open for our nationals abroad to be part of the country's development. In a new development, Morocco has sustained a resounding setback in its bid to cancel the participation of the Sahrawi Democratic Republic in the BRICS meeting. Indeed, the Moroccan side made efforts to convince certain members of the grouping to oppose the presence of the Sahrawi Republic in this meeting, notably India and Brazil. Despite all its maneuvers, Morocco was unable to attain its objectives and suffered a humiliating setback given that the BRICS' decisions were taken unanimously. Back to Algeria, and in the ministerial activity, the pharmaceutical industry and production minister Ali Aoun paid an inspection visit to the industrial zone of L'Arbatash in Boumerdès province. He inquired about the progress of the construction works of the sugar refinery, which have reached 98%. Once over by the end of the current year, this plant will have a production capacity of 200 tons per day of white, brown and liquid sugar, a number that will help our country to secure self-sufficiency when it comes to this widely consumed substance. Ferrovial, a company that produces railway vehicles such as metros and monorails, keeps developing its partnership with Chinese companies so as to meet the national aspirations and ensure the national needs. More details with Ines Gilou.
We are at the level of Ferrovial, the public economic company for manufacturing the railway materials and equipment, which produces railway vehicles such as metros and monorails, as well as assembling and manufacturing certain parts used in railway construction. In order to meet the needs of the national market, this company is looking to develop its partnership with Chinese companies.
The
rate of integration is estimated at 70%, with the remaining 30% in collaboration with other foreign companies, including Chinese companies, and we are trying to speed up the negotiations to achieve a satisfactory outcome for both parties, particularly for the rail company, with a high integration rate and technology transfer.
This partnership will enable us to achieve an industrial integration rate ranging between 25% to 30%, to transfer significant technology from China to Algeria, including the local production of certain spare parts. In addition to developing the rail industry, the Stiral unit in Annaba is involved in the assembly and maintenance of trams and metro trains.
We negotiated with several leading foreign partners in technology transfer, such as China. As you know, China is a pioneer in this field. It managed over the past 10 years to develop its DGV network. It has gone from 2,700 kilometers to 40,000 kilometers and doubled the number of passengers.
Through this partnership, this production unit will be able to produce 2,000 wagons and other railway vehicles per year. It will also provide maintenance services for the fleet and meet the national needs.
In a different context, and as part of the efforts to fight against terrorism and secure the national borders, a detachment of the People's National Army seized during a reconnaissance patrol in Borj-Baji Mukhtar province 1 Kalashnikov and 4 chargers, while another detachment seized in Inamenas 1 Kalashnikov, 3 chargers and a quantity of ammunition. In the same context, 8 elements supporting terrorist groups were apprehended in several operations across the national territory. And regarding the fight against organized crime, combined detachments of the National People's Army, in coordination with the various security services, arrested 21 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce quantities of drugs from the borders with Morocco, amounting to 3 quintals and 12 kilograms of processed keef, and seized more than 45,000 psychotropic tablets. In Tamarasset, Borjabaji Mukhtar, Ingizam and In Amenas, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 135 individuals and seized 11 vehicles, 107 generators, 64 jackhammers, 4 metal detectors, as well as quantities of explosives, detonation tools and equipment used in illegal mining operations, while 11 other individuals were arrested. 12 shotguns, more than 6,000 units of different beverages and 51 quintals of tobacco were seized across the national territory. On the other hand, the border guards, in coordination with the services of the National Gendarmerie and Customs, thwarted attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel amounting to more than 17,000 liters in Borjabaji Mukhtar, Ataraf, Soqahras and Tibissa provinces. For their part, the Coast Guards foiled attempts of illegal immigration and rescued hundreds of individuals on board of homemade boats, while 105 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested throughout the national territory. In the international news, the Brazilian Labor Union expressed its unwavering support for the struggle of the Sahrawi people for freedom and independence and urged the United Nations to help hold in a self-determination referendum in Western Sahara. Ines Kilu once again.
At a time when the Sahrawi people are fighting for their independence, many governmental and non-governmental organizations, as well as civil society actors throughout the world, are showing their support for the Sahrawi cause. In a resolution in support for the Sahrawi people adopted at the end of its 15th Congress, held from 18 to 20 August, under the motto, "The struggle for rights and democracy that transforms life," the Brazilian Labor Union has expressed its unwavering support for the just struggle of the Sahrawi people for freedom, sovereignty and national independence. Under the aegis of its legitimate representative, the Polisario Front and the Sahrawi government, the Brazilian Labor Union called on the United Nations to speed up the holding of a fair and impartial referendum on self-determination in Western Sahara, condemning the violations of human rights against Sahrawi citizens in the occupied cities and called for the release of all Sahrawi political prisoners. Far from Brazil, a series of solidarity events meant to back Sahrawi cause were held in several Spanish cities. In Galicia, the demonstrators once again expressed their unconditional support for the Sahrawi cause.
We are here to support the Sahrawi people in their legitimate demands, in particular for the holding of a fair referendum on self-determination, and we are convinced that the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic snatch its independence for peace and stability in the region.
The Sahrawi people have been fighting for the independence of their country, the last colony in the African continent.
Time now for adventure and discovery in Jurjra Heights, being highly visited by citizens seeking fresh air and relaxation amid a beautiful natural landscape. Let's follow our reporter Najah Tayar to escape the daily routine and recharge our batteries.
Between these high mountains of Tizi Ouzou and among many others, Ezroun Thor is one of the most attracting regions to tourists in love with mountain nature and Kabyle culture. It's not my first time here. I like everything, including the ambience, the services and the security also are perfect. The region's cultural heritage is exhibited as well, thanks to the activities programmed by the region's talented inhabitants. This season, we always plan programs as these, since we are proud of our country's culture and the tourists like it as well. Everyone who comes to visit this place leaves with a relaxed mind, and we are glad for that. Our passion and duty is to create a festive atmosphere in this park, exhibiting our various heritage to preserve it and to contribute in boosting the tourism in our country. The investment in natural and cultural assets as these regions is required in order to encourage the mountain tourism that contributes as well in the local development.
And with that, our edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us and goodbye.